Sun solar panel here on YouTube, iTunes, wherever you listen to or watch these things. I'm your host, Greg Esposito, as Tim Tompkins, and I know I usually joke in these when he's away, but Tim Tompkins is actually off talking to the United Nations. That's right. He's presenting to the UN. So
we don't have much crap to say about Tim right now.
I,
We're presenting to Suns Nation, which is not as impactful as the United Nations.
I don't know. We may never see Tim again. He may just disappear if this thing goes sideways. But joining me, as always, is Dave King. Dave, how are you?
Hello, how are you guys?
Good.
Welcome to the evening.
Oh, it's the evening edition where we play Guess What's in Dave's Drink. Please don't tell us, Dave. We don't actually want to know. And joining us this evening...
That would ruin the mystery.
And joining us this evening, a very, very, very special guest, Gerald Bourget. Gerald, where are you working now? What is your title officially now?
Yeah, so I am a writer and editor for the Step Back with Fansided. So that's basically Fansided's NBA coverage. Used to be in charge of Hoops Habit, the editor-in-chief, and they brought me over to the main site to help with their coverage over there.
That's awesome. Good for you, man.
Fansided has more NBA sites than there are Suns podcasts, which I did not know was possible. But we're glad you're on the main team now, the all-stars over there at Fansided. So great to have you. So let's get into it. Admittedly, I have a real job now, so I did not get to go to Suns Media Day. I did not get to watch Suns Media Day. I've seen clips, but I did not get to experience the full thing.
F you. I have a real job too. I just took the day off.
Yeah, well,
because I care.
Dave is irresponsible. If his bosses are listening, Dave is irresponsible.
Yes, hello, bosses and coworkers and everyone. Yes, I did this on purpose.
I maybe
I'll
next
be there tomorrow.
Dave, so Dave, since you played hooky from work and risked your career, how was Suns Media Day?
I thought Suns Media Day was good, but you know what? I think Suns Media Day is fun every year. It's the one time a year where we can all sit there and say, you know what, this team could be pretty good. We all talk ourselves into it. No one has failed yet. As one of the players put it, we're all 0-0, so everyone's got the same record. We're all in a good mood. The players are positive, and they think everything's going to go really well. So this is the best day. This is like Christmas for Suns fans. How about you, Gerald? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You said it best. Everyone's 0-0. Everyone's optimistic. The word playoffs wasn't thrown about as often as I thought it might be for a young.
That's true. I think I had an over-under at 5, and I didn't hear it once.
It was I think it was Rubio that mentioned maybe being in the playoff race, and then there was someone else that mentioned it, but it was really not, it didn't seem like that was the focus. It seemed like the focus was actual just regular old growth, which is it's unfortunate that the playoffs still aren't a realistic goal for this season maybe, but also I'm kind of optimistic that they're setting realistic goals for once.
So we talked about it on Saturday's episode, Dave, but what were the cliches? Did we get the normal somebody added 10 to 15 pounds of muscle? What did we get that was cliche gold today at Suns Media Day?
We heard the usual, look, we all just want to get better. We're working on our game. We're trying to improve. We want to have good team chemistry. We all want to get along. We're all out there for each other. But I didn't quite hear the cliches that make me cringe today. I don't remember going, oh, geez, he said that. Of course, I did not sit in on DeAndre Ayton's interview or Devin Booker's interview because I've heard them talk a lot. So I don't know if they use the tried and true ones that we've been hearing for years because that's what they've been taught. But so I only focused on the new players today, and I didn't hear quite as many, or the way they said it, like Aron Baynes with his Australian accent. Maybe it just didn't sound as cliche because it came from Aron Baynes. I don't know.
Well, Gerald, we don't trust Dave around here. So did you hear any cliches at Media Day today?
I only heard a couple. There's the typical first or second year player talk about the things that they want to improve in their game, and they go with everything. Well, that's not their.
Oh, that was Eric Bledsoe every year.
Yeah, everything. Want to improve everything. But other than that, no, not really. It seems like the new guys are very cognizant of where this franchise has been, but they're also acknowledging, that there's been a lot of change recently. And for those of us who have been around for all of that change, change for the sake of change isn't good, but it helped get these guys on board. A lot of these vets that were a little skeptical and had reason to be from the outside.
There's always comments that have no basis in reality. And really the only ones I heard today were guys like Rubio a little bit, Aron Baynes a little bit, Dario Saric, who none of those guys have been with the team for very long. I don't even think Rubio's played at all yet. I'm not sure if Saric has or not, but they talked about how the team is different than the Suns of old. And I'm like, well, you don't even know the Suns of new, let alone the Suns of old. So you don't really know whether anything's different or not. But they did talk pretty definitively about things being different. And they gave a lot of credit to the coaching staff for trusting that they're going to be doing things the right way this year. So there were several players who commented that Monty Williams is a dude who's going to keep everybody in line, keep everyone in check, have them play the right way, all the normal stuff you hear on media day. Maybe I just fell for it. I don't know. I usually fall for it. So maybe I just fell for it again, but I felt pretty good coming out of media day.
One of the things that I did see, one of the quotes from Monty Williams was talking about trust, and that he basically told Devin Booker that he doesn't have to trust him, that maybe it'll form over time, but he doesn't have to trust him. I've never heard a coach say that, and from what I heard of it, what I read of it, it sounded refreshing. How was it for you guys there in person to hear Monty Williams say that?
Yeah, I mean, and it makes sense because he even pointed out, like, it's been 5 NBA coaches for Devin Booker heading into his 5th year, but also 6 coaches overall based on his 1 year at Kentucky. So,
right,
just because
6 and 6, yeah,
just because Devin Booker's never had a problem with a coach doesn't mean that with each new guy he's going to automatically trust and buy in. So I thought that was refreshing as well. That he said, you don't have to trust me right now, but you will eventually. Like you will. Well, I'll earn your trust, basically, and that is refreshing based on the turnover here.
Well, yeah, because
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because usually in this situation, a guy would come in and say, yeah, we're building that trust, we're building that rapport, everything's great, and instead Monty Williams just kind of went head on, and you know what, he doesn't have to right now, and it's up to Monty Williams to earn that, and I respect that about him. Maybe it's lip service, but it sure doesn't seem like it. It seems like he's saying the right things, even if they're not conventional.
Right.
Well, that's not one of those things that someone who gives lip service would say. Like if you're trying to sell yourself, right? If you're trying to sell something, either yourself, your team's future, your background, all that. If you have any level of insecurity, you're not going to say people don't have to like me, people don't have to trust me. The really consistent thing out of people who are insecure in what they're doing is when they say you should be secure in what I'm doing. When they tell you to trust them, when they tell you should believe in me. I had a coworker once who said that to me when I first got a new job, and she was telling me, oh, the last person didn't trust me. You need to trust me. I'm like, I don't. I'll trust you when, over time, when I know what to expect and all that, but I don't need to trust you right away. So when Monty said that, I was like, yeah, and you're right, Greg. We don't hear that from NBA coaches. We just don't. I mean, one of the guys who's been really refreshing to me randomly over time, because obviously I don't hear all of his press conferences, is when Greg Popovich says things like that, where he goes like, look, this, he says other things too, but when he says things like, we got to build this relationship and I don't trust you and you don't have to, he said those kind of things before. Monty said that he learned from a lot of things from Greg Popovich in that year that he came back into the league after his wife passed. He spent a year with the Spurs, and that really helped him out in a lot of ways too.
Well, look, trust isn't given, trust is earned, and I like hearing that. And when you look at Monty Williams, what does he have to prove? What is he, in the larger scheme of things, with everything he's been through, you know what does he need to pander to people? He probably believes in himself and his abilities enough where he doesn't have to, and deep down wants to win, but in the end understands if he doesn't, it's not the end all be all. He's a well-rounded person, so I think that gives him a different perspective that actually will help him with this young group of guys and connecting with them.
Right. It's kind of like Earl Watson, but with the actual substance behind it. I feel like he has that perspective on life. And that's one thing that James Jones pointed out today, which, again, sounds kind of lip servicey, a little hokey, but he was saying the guys in the locker room are actual good guys, which is, again, sounds lip servicey, but it's a little bit different from what the Suns have had. They've had a bunch of young players trying to find themselves, a bunch of over-the-hill veterans. They haven't had guys that are good on the court, but also just like genuinely good people who want to change this culture. And it's an upgrade in talent, it's an upgrade in mentality, and you need both of those things to turn around a situation like this.
One thing that came up in recent years was that the Suns didn't have enough guys with experience, with playoff experience. They had just one or two or three. Now they've got 7, 8, 9 guys. And so these guys know how to win a game. And even Devin Booker was saying, he's like, now we've got guys who actually know what it takes to finish a game, to close out important games and all that. And really, we have to remember, Devin Booker's never been put in a real meaningful game situation yet. We don't know if he's going to succeed or fail. We do know that 2 years ago, as a 20-year-old, he led the league in game winners. When he was finally given opportunities to win games, he did. He closed out that season opener even just last year against Dallas, and then later in the year he finished off the Memphis Grizzlies. I believe it was Memphis in a game winner. And so the dude knows how to close games, but he hasn't been put in too many of those situations. And the players around him this year know what those situations look like, and they know how to act in them. So I do think that's like a critical mass. The water level has risen. And all the ships rise with the rising waters. So I really think the Suns have a much higher floor than they had in years past. I don't think this team bottoms out at 20 wins. I really don't. And last year I was worried about that. Well, I thought they might.
Let's be honest. James Jones, when he was talking about this locker room having good guys, he was referencing Josh Jackson. He's still bitter that he had to go buy guys beers because of Josh Jackson's irresponsibility, right?
Oh man, yeah, poor Josh Jackson. Now he's going to be where's he going to be playing?
The Memphis Hustle, the
Memphis
G
Hustle.
League. Well, we got a question from the chat. David McDevitt wants to know, can we talk about how Baynes did not care for Dave's question about Booker? Can we talk about this, Dave?
I wrote about that this afternoon. I was so impressed with his answer. Yes, we can talk about it. So and this was one of those where it was kind of a setup to get Baynes to talk about Booker and what he thinks and all that. But I worded it a little bit poorly. I said, hey, so we know that the water level has risen and all this stuff, but you also know the team is going to go as far as Devin Booker carries the team. And that's what I believe. And I threw in the I believe. I never threw I believe before in a question ever. But for some reason, I threw that in to see what he would say. Because otherwise, sometimes they blow it off when you go, people say that, and then they don't even answer really the question. So he cut me off right then. And he goes, look, you're entitled to your opinion. But no one player has ever won a game. And then, of course, I shared that. And I got 10 Michael Jordan memes of game-winning shots. And I'm like, you missed the point. The point Aron Baynes was trying to say is that there's 11 guys, 10 guys, and however many guys played that game, there's that many guys who got you to a game-winner shot opportunity. And even Kobe Bryant, guys like Michael Jordan, they all failed on those game winners a lot. And the only reason, they're remembered for those is because they took so many and they made some big ones. But Devin Booker needs to be given more opportunities to close a game. But it does take all the guys on the team to get you to that. And, of course, Aron Baynes, being a career backup center, does believe in guys off the bench making a big difference in the game. So he has every right to say that. I thought it was a perfect answer. Yeah, he basically, I worded it in my articles like, Yep, he already showed us what his hard screens look like.
I already love him. If he's going to give you crap, I'm all in on Aron
Yeah, it was
Baynes.
great. It was wonderful.
Gerald, what was your favorite answer that you got to a question today at Media Day?
My favorite, there were a lot of them actually. It's an underrated thing, but having a locker room full of guys that are articulate and very intelligent and understand the game and the questions that you're giving them is an underrated thing in this league. But I actually kind of like what Ricky Rubio said. He was asked about, what do you think of DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker and how your game will mesh with them? And he was very honest. He said, I could give you a generic answer about, these young players with talent and how I can help make them better, but he wants to watch film on them to learn their games first and then help them improve, not numbers-wise, but winning-wise. He was literally asking, will we be able to win? I don't know yet, but the goal is, these two young players are pegged for putting up big stats, but not being on winning teams. So what I want to find out is whether we can win with this group. And he's right. He understands that based on his time in this league and his time with Spain, and all of that has given him perspective, and it was very refreshing. And we bought into this a little bit last year with guys like Trevor Ariza and Ryan Anderson, but he has more reinforcements this year. It's not just him and one other guy, and he's not for the hill. He's still in his prime. So I believe him,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another really great answer I heard today was, and this has been shared on social as well already, but Monty Williams, when a guy in the back of the room asked, so what do you expect out of DeAndre Ayton as your leader this year? Because we've been so many years in a row where 20 years, 19-year-olds, 21-year-olds are expected to be the team leaders and to show the team how to win. And so it was obvious to say, well, if DeAndre Ayton's one of your top two talents on the team and top two producers, he would be one of your leaders. So this guy asked, what are you expecting from DeAndre out of leadership this year, improvements and growth? And Monty just goes, the dude is 17 years old or something like that. You can't expect him to be a leader. I don't expect him to have any leadership on this team. If it comes, it comes. It'll probably come in a few years. But he can be consistent. He can do his job. He can come out there every night. He gave a really great answer and not flippant answer at all, the way I said it, and not disrespectful to DeAndre either. He's basically just saying, get off his back. He doesn't know what he's doing yet. That's why we brought in these other guys to be actual leaders, even while DeAndre Ayton is putting up some of the most points and rebounds. I just love the answer.
Which I think is necessary, too. He just needs to focus on his game. He can't be thrust into a position where he has to worry about all the peripherals as well. And that speaks, again, to Monty Williams' leadership and understanding that and wanting to put this kid in a position to succeed. So I really like that. I had heard that one as well, and that stuck out to me. But let's grind gears a little bit and other than the questions Dave asked, what were the worst ones you guys heard today?
Worst ones?
Yeah, there's always ridiculous questions during Media Day. There's always something ridiculous that somebody asks. Usually somebody from an FM non-sports station asks something like that.
Yeah, there were a couple of, the one about Ayton and leadership. That one might have been in my top 3 for worst question because he's a second-year player. That's going to come in time.
But I'll even give that guy a pass because that's who we've been expecting leadership from the last few years.
Right.
So is those 20-year-olds. So
yeah, there was another one about that kept being asked. It was who is the most impactful new addition? Just boring questions like that. But there weren't any off the wall ones this year that I can recall.
Somebody was asking Devin. When toward the end, I didn't hear most of Devin's big media session. When I finally noticed he was sitting down, it was 3 deep, and I couldn't hear anything. But toward the end, the people whittled down, and so I got in there. And some guy was talking to him about his 2K rating and other video game things, and Devin just seemed like he was only half paying attention. What is my rating? And the guy didn't know the rating. He's like, that the kind of thing. I did ask Devin about that DeAndre Ayton not needing to be a leader comment by Monty, and of course he didn't have the transcript and didn't hear it himself, but And I probably related poorly, but I, like I always do. But I said, yeah. I mean, Monty Williams said you can't expect young guys to be leaders. You need your older veterans to be leaders. And I don't think Devin took it well. He was just like he was like, well, Deandre can be a leader in his own way, and young guys can be leaders in their own way. But the veterans lead in different ways, and they're the ones who can help you close out big games, and those are the ones who can help you get one of those bottom seeds when you're fighting for the playoffs. It's just different kind of leadership. Well, my only thought coming out of that was if everyone's a leader, then no one's a leader.
Great,
Right?
Dave. Great, Dave. You tanked the relationship between Monty Williams and Devin Booker by misquoting him.
I managed to do it. Yes.
Monty said he doesn't have to trust him, and now Devin won't because Dave relayed things poorly. That way to go.
It wasn't.
You're welcome, fans.
Someone did that with Ayton as well. They relayed Monty's response to Ayton. And he was like, "What? He's been on my ass all summer about being a leader and being better in that regard." So, don't worry, Dave. It's not just you this time.
Oh, good.
I love that Ayton will just respond like that too, like just bluntly open. Some people dislike it. I appreciate it. We always want these.
I love that DeAndre Ayton says what's actually true.
Yeah, but people are always banging the table. Hey, I want athletes that are honest, that tell it like it is, that are truthful. And then DeAndre Ayton does it, and some fans are like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he's saying these things. He should just be quiet." And you're like, you can't have it both ways. Like you just can't. So, before we get going, couple of other new guys. What was your impression of Aron Baynes, Dario Saric, Frank Kaminsky? What kind of stood out from the new guys for you?
I mean, for Dario Saric, I didn't talk to him very long, but it seemed like I don't know. Like I remember him coming into the draft like being this fiery, like competitive, like trash talking foreign prospect. And like listening to him talk, I don't know how much like Minnesota bothered him because it took him a while to find his place. Like it wore him down a little bit, but he was very passive, and I don't know if it's just
introspective.
Right, very introspective, and I don't know if it's just him being mild because this is a new place for him. But he was saying like, I don't really know what my role is going to be. I'm just going to try and fit in and blend in with these guys. So it seemed like he was very deferential to the talent that's already here. I'm hoping that on the court, at least, we see a little more fire in him because the Sun, and he's their starting power forward. Like, they need him to play well if they're going to reach that 30, 35 game plateau.
I'm most worried about Saric's acclimation to the team, because if he's in a sulky mood, then that's going to hurt overall, performance and morale and all that. And we don't want Frank Kaminsky to be put into a position where he has to play a lot of minutes right away. I just don't. So I want Saric to be focused and in. Now I stood near him and recorded him being interviewed for like 15 minutes. And so I'm going to have a good article on Saric this week. I took it as he's used to just being a team player. And I've talked to a Philadelphia blogger earlier this summer about Saric, and he's like, oh yeah, that dude's a team player. He just does what everyone else, wherever he can fit in. He doesn't want stats for just himself. He doesn't want to be the guy with the skills. He wants to just do the skills, show the skills that the team needs to win games. So he's a real gamer, and they really loved the fact. I mean, they called him Super Dario the second year when he averaged 16 and 7 as a starting power forward at 22, 23 years old for a second round team that was relying on Embiid and Simmons and Saric to get there. That was a really fun year, and Saric really was a great teammate, but he never had to be the main guy. And so maybe I came in with that prejudice or predisposition, I guess I would say. When I was listening to him, I did not expect him to be, it's all about me, and I'm going to be great, and I'm going to start. And I asked him, I said, what would you see as a bad year or a good year? How would you describe that? And he said, I can't really describe it. I just want the team to win, and I want to do what it takes. So, and I asked him, so what skills do you think that you bring to the table that you haven't had a chance to show yet? Because I've heard that he feels like he's a pretty good passer, playmaker, and he got a little bit to show that in Philadelphia, but nothing in Minnesota. He didn't even say that. He's like, look, I don't like talking about myself. I want the team to do well. I want to do what the team wants. So if he's coming from a humble place that he just wants to contribute and do whatever it takes, that's great. If he's coming from a beaten down place and he's worried about, well, he just doesn't want to admit how important it is. He goes, look, everybody wants to play 2 or 3 more minutes a game. Everybody wants to play 10 more minutes a game. I'm no different on that, but I wanted to be in the right situation where we're winning, or when we're playing well. So I haven't totally been gotten on the Saric train yet because I got to see how he actually plays. But he was not gregarious and out there and ready to take on the world. That's for sure.
I heard he referenced kind of a long-term future, talking about next year even here in Phoenix, despite only having a 1-year contract. I found that interesting, that maybe he is of the mindset that he wants to make this a home, not a pit stop.
Well, he wants a home. I think I did hear from it was the Minnesota or the Philadelphia blogger, but he was really down after that trade. And it took him a long time to acclimate. And I kind of liken it back to when Brandon Knight came here in 2015. Remember how dejected and sad he was after being traded from the Bucks?
Let's be honest. He was dejected and sad the entire time he was here. So
he was dejected, and I don't know if that was just him. Sure seems like it because that's all we saw. But I remember that first month and him talking about, yeah, they need me to be a leader here, all the changes and everything. And then maybe it was Jared Dudley mentioned, because Jared had been with him in Milwaukee the year before. He's like, and he just gave a lot of encouragement to Brandon Knight about coming to Phoenix and putting his chin up and all that. But he was devastated by being traded from the Bucks because he was totally sold on them. And that could be what happened to Saric going to Minnesota, where he was just down in the dumps over being traded in the first place. And so he might be talking about, now we're not the rebound girl. Now we're the girl you could have a long-term relationship with. And so maybe he is thinking about being long-term again with the team because he doesn't like switching all the time.
Yeah, maybe he's just scared of having his heart broken again, you know.
Right, exactly.
I can't blame him. I mean, Minnesota and
he's only got a
Philly.
1-year contract. He only got promised for one date.
I hope it lasts more than one date, because if he only starts one game, we got bigger problems here in Phoenix. So, final question, and the most important one, saved it for last. How'd the orange jerseys look in person? A lot of flack on the internet after they were released, unveiled, but you guys got to see them firsthand. The full uniforms, how'd they look?
Personally, I still don't like them. I mean, I think they look better in person. They're not as like Sunny D colored in real life. They're more like creamsicle colored in real life, honestly. But it's
that
not
doesn't
bad.
make it much better.
They look better in person. I don't know how to describe it.
They
but
look
they're-
like real jerseys in person, real uniforms.
They still look like real practice jerseys to me.
Well, I think the numbers are a big part of that. They're just white numbers slapped on there, no outline or anything. They look like they were ironed on a few minutes before they put the uniforms on. I know Dave has Dave actually liked them based on what I saw on Twitter.
My orange crush.
Yes. I have always struggled with the orange uniforms because inevitably they look like the Home Depot apron, and there's just not much you can do about that, just simply because of the color.
Well, I wrote about this the other day too. I don't like orange either. I don't. I don't want a team to have an orange uniform. But if you're going to have an orange uniform, these are the best version of an orange uniform that the Suns have made yet. I didn't like the sleeved ones back in the 2014 reveal, and I did not like the 7 seconds or less ones with the gray trim. That was just god awful. Terrible. The worst.
Awful. I liked the shade of orange that they used for those, but you're right. With the gray trim, it just was ugly.
So it was terrible.
So what you're saying, Dave, is these jerseys are very much like this year's Suns team. Better than anything we've had recently,
yes, right.
But still not
the
great.
Best of the worst. Yes, exactly.
Well, Gerald, why?
That's a great way to end the pod, right there.
It is.
Man.
Gerald, before we let you go, why don't you let people know what you're working on, where they can find it?
Sure. I actually just like an hour before we got on here published a 10 random tidbits from Media Day piece on Fansided. I'll have more Media Day stories, obviously, rolling out this week, also at Fansided. And you can follow me on Twitter at GeraldBourguet.
All right. Well, definitely
Or just
highly
use the
recommend
search
it.
function and look up Gerald and Sons, and it'll come in if you
Yeah.
can't remember all the letters.
But highly recommend it. Gerald's always been one of my favorite follows and a guy that I always enjoyed talking to when back when I spent most of my time in the Suns media room. So great to have you on the show. You can follow Dave King at Dave King NBA. The NBA is there because he lacks confidence. I'm at Espo on Twitter. We appreciate it. We will be back on. I assume Saturday we'll be back on Saturday to break down what happened at training camp, talk more about Suns basketball, and if anything major happens between now and then, maybe we'll hop on as well. So make sure to leave a review on the pod. 5 stars is always appreciated. Head over to sunshirts.com to buy a new Suns solar panel shirt, and also you can always support the pod by clicking the link in the description to leave a donation if you so choose. Tim's not here, so we're not going to push it too hard on you. So for Dave King, for Gerald Bourget, myself, Greg Bourget. I said, I did it. I pulled a Tim. I said I was not going to do that as the host of this, and I did it.
Bourget.
Oh, Bourget. Gerald, I apologize. So for Gerald Bourget, for Dave King, and for myself, Greg Esposito, we'll talk to you next time here on the Sun Solar Panel.